The propriety of the ban by southern governors of open grazing is one of the issues we shall be taking up now. In fact, the dominant issue we shall be taking up right now. Of course, a response from the presidency which came out on Monday. Joining us at this time is Senator Ajibola Basiru. He represents Osun Central, spokesman of the Nigerian Senate. Good to have you here with us, Senator.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
Senator, let's begin by asking you your reaction to the statement made by Garba Shehu on the ban on open grazing agreed on by southern governors.
Yeah, the statement made by Garba Shehu is a mere regurgitation of other statement made by the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami. And I say with all sense of responsibility that it is unfortunate that a spokesperson of the president can reiterate that what I call an insensitive and absolutely discomforting statement from a high official as high as the office of the Attorney General of the Federation. The Constitution of Nigeria, it is a matter of looking at Section 1 of the Constitution that talk about the supremacy of the Nigerian Constitution, and by that provision any other law inconsistent or act will be ultra vires, will be null and void. The Attorney General, and when I use the barometer, I will not isolate what Garba Shehu said, because what he has said is a mere regurgitation of what the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation has said, and of course I will take it that the President decided to take the advice of the Honorable Attorney General. I will say that primarily rearing animal is a form of agriculture. There's nothing spectacular about it. And of course, when you say an act is unconstitutional, you must point to the fact of which aspect of constitution you are referring to. Unfortunately, both in the statement of the Honorable Attorney General and that of Garba Shehu on behalf of the President, no specific provision had been cited giving any person unbridled right of access to other people's property for the purpose of conducting their own business, which is agriculture. Animal husbandry is all over the world. There should be rules and regulations to do so. And over time, as a senator of the Federal Republic, I've had cause, at least on 2 occasions, to raise at the plenary that issue of agriculture, except in the area of research and planning, which is actually limited under concurrent legislative list, the National Assembly and ipso facto the federal government has no power to make law in relation to agriculture. It is a matter within residual function by virtue of Section 4, Subsection 7 of the 1999 Constitution. So talking even about ranching, the only thing the federal government can do about ranching is to support the state, but they don't have the necessary levers under our Constitution to be able to do so. But unfortunately, since 1966, we have seen a gradual slide to a unitarism, whereby there is even no clear-cut demarcation and adherence to the constitutionally delineated powers under the Constitution. And by our Constitution, you have the exclusive legislative list. I challenge anybody to look at whether there's any item on agriculture on the exclusive legislative list. On the concurrent legislative list, only one item that has a semblance to that, I think it's paragraph H, only talks about research and planning for the purpose of agriculture being imbued in the federal government. And by Section 4, Section 7, residual matters, any other matter not so enumerated either in the Constitution on the legislative list, is within the province of the state legislature and therefore the state executive. This has been given judicial imprimatur in cases like Attorney General of Lagos State and the General Federation, when the question of constitutionality of the national planning decree was challenged by Lagos State government, and the Supreme Court said any matter not captured under the exclusive list, not in the concurrent list, belongs to the state. But unfortunately, we have a situation whereby a kind of a power grabbing mode has actually eroded the basis of our federalism. And I would say that it is not by accident that Nigerian leaders at independent, both at the Lancaster and London conferences, decided to pick federalism. One, we have an heterogeneous society, we have a large population, and we have diverse population. The and minorities as well. And there was a willing commission in 1951 or so to look at minority issue. So in such kind of situation, you cannot afford to continue to strengthen unitarism and camouflaging as federal system. I will say, with all said, as a patriot, not as a party man, to say that the statement emanating both from the Attorney General of Operation and regurgitated by the presidency through Ajibola Basiru is unfortunate, and it's discomforting for those who daily suffer because we have not been able to modernize our system of animal husbandry.
It appears that it's not just the Attorney General of the Federation that has that legal mindset as far as the decision of the Southern governors are concerned. Another lawyer who is very close to the president in advisory capacity, not officially though, Professor Issa Sage, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, has also come up to say, look, what the Southern governors did was a mere declaration. Was it a declaration, Senator?
Yeah, I listened to Sage on you. You see, you must make a clear distinction between what Sage has said and what Attorney General of Federation has said. Sage did not go as far as to say what has been said as the unconstitutional. To make an allegation of constitutionality is a serious matter, and I would have expected specific provision to be cited. What I said, there's a distinction between making executive pronouncements, which is valid, and then backing it up with necessary legal legislation to create a penal sanction in support. What I heard Professor Sage said on this station, yesterday, was that you need, for you to be able to practicalize and make criminal damnation by virtue of sexuality of constitution, there must be a written law in that regard. So making a declaration within the context of the executive power, within the context of the power arrangement in the constitution, which clearly allow agriculture, regulation of agriculture. And don't also forget that by Land Use Act, the management of land in the territory of a state is by Section 1, vested in the governor. And
that's also a constitutional matter.
No, Land Use Act is on the level of the constitution of Nigeria. In fact, the same procedure that we used to change the Nigerian constitution is what you use to change Land Use Act. Section 1 is clear. So when you are talking about having a broad perspective of the constitutional latitude to so regulate animal husbandry and any other form of agriculture, it is within the state government. But unfortunately, our psyche has turned to unitarist system because of the long experience in military dictatorship, and also because of even the challenge we have with our constitutional law experts introducing dubious constitutional concepts that will not allow us to have a clear position on our constitution. Some foreign doctrine on constitutional interpretation has been brought to Nigeria, like they said, something like doctrine of covering the feet. Justice Nikitobi in Soya and Fair of Nigeria said that when it comes to Nigerian constitution, you will interpret the word of the Nigerian constitution. You don't go and import foreign concept and adjust to it. Also, even as the Second Republic, in the case of Attorney General Bendel and Attorney General of Federation, 283 foreign cases were cited in Nigerian constitutional law cases. The Supreme Court said all these cases were of no avail because they were determined in the context of the letters of a written constitution. So what we need to look into in Nigeria is not to bring dubious inapposite concepts from other territories and look at our legislative list. Is agriculture a business of the federal government? And I say with all responsibility that even Federal Ministry of Agriculture ought not to have more job than just research and planning. All this idea of getting involved in the issue of planting, fertilizer, and all those that are part of the problem that we even have it. Where is the land? The land by the constitutional regime in Nigeria is best affected in the state. And anything that does not have its own land is now the one conducting and having a overbearing influence in the area of agriculture.
Senator, let me ask you the question we've been asking all morning. The 17 Southern governors have the constitutional right to ban open grazing. You have so explained that clearly this morning. But where is the enforcement going to come from, to help these state governors achieve their aim?
Yeah, I would say, and in line with what Professor Sage said yesterday, of course, I expect that the governors will go and get their Attorney Generals to immediately pass necessary legislation to give legal bites to that proposition. But then the problem we also have is also part of the problem of the anomaly of our so-called federal system. When you have a situation whereby you have a federal government and you have a unitary police system, I've, as a senator, had the cause to introduce a bill which is being considered part of constitutional amendment on state police. I believe, irrespective of whatever argument people may come forward about possibility of using the state police as an instrument of political oppression, the argument of security, the argument of germane nature of security of life and property outweigh whatever mischief could have been done. In any event, all over the world, even in the advanced democracies, there is always the propensity that instrumentality of the state will be used to oppress. But then rule of law, independence of judiciary always serve as the bulwark of defense against such. So you cannot say because of possibility and because of probability that some individual abuses of rights will occur, you abolish or you not put in place a state police. It's not like saying in the United States of America, because of the perennial abuse which have been well reported about people being victim of police harassment, police abuse, you are out of the we're going to say that we're going to strap metropolitan police, or we're not going to have order. This issue of security in Nigeria is very important, and I say that even this issue of other farmers classmates is about rule of law. No law allow you, no right to freedom of association, freedom of movement, allow you to enter the property of another person. There is criminal trespass. There is also civil trespass. But when you have a situation whereby even a matter of theft of a chicken can end up in the office of Attorney General or of the Inspector General's office in Lucedet House in Abuja, from as far back as a village in Calabar or in Kebbi State. So we need to decentralize our police and security system in Nigeria.
But pending when that does happen, if it ever eventually happens, how, still going back to what my colleague asked, how do you enforce this, even when you have a legislation in place? Because we've always discussed this, and it's good you are a senator, you can provide, some legislative mindset into this. Benue State had passed a law banning open grazing. The federal government, even as it is now, the presidency didn't appear very much in sync with that law, which has been primarily blamed on why that law doesn't seem to achieve any result, because killings are still ongoing in Benue State despite the ban on open grazing. Why? Because it appears to be that, according to what the state governor has said in different occasions, not getting the right kind of support from agencies of state power, enforcement agencies like the police and other institutions, to enforce this law which has been duly passed by the state government, because this agency still belongs to the presidency. Now, when the president are controlled by the president, the executive, which is headed by the president. Now, when the presidency issues a statement such as that which was issued yesterday, it clearly shows that even if the states go ahead to pass these laws to provide legal backing for ban on open grazing, there might still be a problem getting institutional support for enforcement. Talking about the police and other law enforcement.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I will not totally come to a position of deja vu on the matter. I would rather say that let us first take one step the other. Let the states come up with their law. Then let us battle the question of enforcement. And I will say that, just as I said, and I say it because of responsibility, that statement from the Attorney General of the Federation and Garba Shehu is discomforting. I've seen experience in my constituencies of people whose livelihood had been destroyed because of unbridled access of people to their farmland on the basis of carrying out the business of animal husbandry. So when people's life and livelihood is connected, I expect that there should be a balance. There should be empathy, even on the part of the presidency, in addressing such matter, and making a counterbalance statement and seeking to see it as if it's a power tussle between the governors of the southern state and the presidency. I think even some of the governors in the north quite agree with what the southern governors. So it's not really a question of divide between the south and the north. For instance, governor of Kano State and Governor has repeatedly said so, and I also believe governors like Governor Atiku Bagudu, they are also even having challenges in being able to ensure their rice production is protected against the perennial attack by nomadic people spending on the so it's not really a certain affair. It's not a certain affair, but it's unfortunate if some handlers of the president are seen it and advocating Nigeria along that particular line. Yes, there's always been challenge of enforcement. I've been in my state, and I know that in some instances, even when prosecution has started, there will be transfer of police officers from our state to another state. You begin to have problem of how do you bring them to come and testify. There are really no core practitioners, core prosecutors who are domiciled almost perpetually in the state to you to announce that prosecutorial ability. But notwithstanding, Rome is not built in a day. I was reading a piece from Sam Omasayad on the back page of Nation yesterday. He said the getting there for Nigeria in terms of restructuring, getting there in terms of power devolution, getting there in terms of having meaningful government that address security and life of the people will not start with everything being done at the same time. A step to the other. Perhaps a year ago, you will not even have heard of any pronouncement, whether constitutional or not constitutional, about banning of open grazing. Now, a fista has been created and the challenge has been thrown to the governors in the southern part of the country and other part of the country to make necessary legislation to be able to ensure that that is enforced, to also be able to make necessary decisions, policy, executive decisions in terms of financing and supporting animal husbandry in the modern context. It is not even economically viable for you to be allowing animals to be moving around and use the same energy that they ought to put within themselves to be able to become fatter. Where there are some facilities when you have ram fattening and facilities, cow fattening facility, whereby both the milk and the ram will be of quantity. Even the modern method of animal husbandry in Nigeria is disincentive to production, disincentive to economic development, and getting maximum yield. Therefore, so this is also a wake-up for the state governors to ensure that we go by way of modern method or practices. I've been to Argentina before. You see large ranches where you see serious animal husbandry being carried out. Even in Zimbabwe, you see a cow that will be almost like a building because they were stationed in the same place and they are doing so. So I believe that the certain governors' decision also have gotten in premature of assent from leadership of our own party and attendance in the southwest with the meeting that was held in Lagos. And I believe with this kind of wake-up call, it
was even a bipartisan decision because you had members of both political parties.
You know why I don't want to say that? I'm a member of APC. Yeah. I don't want anybody to say that we are claiming what did not. It's good that it came from you, because I know that my leaders were there. Ajibola Basiru, Baba Bisa Konde, Otuba Adebayo, Baba Osoba, they are my leaders. So if I don't want it, so if I make that claim as bipartisan, somebody will say, don't mind Ajibola Basiru has not said. But since you have said so, I adopt that it's a bipartisan. I said so because it's a fact.
Senator, you talked about having a federal government and then a unitary police system. This brings me to, let's talk about constitution amendment. I want to ask you the same question I asked His Excellency earlier when we were talking to him. Amendment or a new constitution. Why is this current constitution, why will this current constitution no longer serve the Nigeria of today?
You see, I will not say that a particular constitution will not serve Nigerians of today. And I will also not say that a particular constitution will serve the Nigerians of today. I will say that constitutional making process is usually a gradual process, incremental and based on experience that we have. And of course, there's also a difference between the letters of the constitution and the spirit of constitution. In Nigeria, both in terms of letter, we don't follow constitution. In terms of spirit, it's even get worse. So we must first get that correct. Then looking at the present constitution, I would say that as a student of constitutional law, history, our present constitution is actually really a unitary constitution. The only time Nigeria had a federal constitution was under the 1960 and 1963 constitution. If you look at the subject matter in our constitution, and that's why, but then you also look at what is achievable and how do you incrementally get to where you want to get to. I would say that to say that you want to have a new constitution, it has to also be within the framework of the existing constitution, because there's an existing government, which is the constitution. Section 9 provides for amendment of the constitution. So an amendment will even mean radical transformation of the entire provision in the constitution. So it's really not a question of that you must first demolish existing political structure, demolish existing democratic structure to be able to have a new constitution. It is for how far can we, and I speak with all responsibility as representative of the people in the National Assembly and our representative in the State Assembly and our governors, support the idea of having a constitution that really devolves power in a way that governance is taken back to the people at the grassroots, taken back to people that matter. And I give you an example. Most Nigerians really look towards the state to deliver on many of their requirements. But unfortunately, I've served at the state level for a 2 term. It's really a difficult time, even when you are visionary, when you are committed, when you have integrity, to be able to deliver based on the existing structure. And I will say that, for instance, you have a process whereby you have a central pool, revenue being shared 52 or 56% to the national government, 26 or so for 36 states. The implication, when you mention 26, you know that we have 36 states and federal capital. It means that practically no state actually will get up to 1% of what is allocated from the national administration. We also have the local government, which also is also a problem that our state actors, that's the governors, also need to look into. The state, the local government as an instrument of transformation, of economic development, has also become prostrate because of lack of implementation of the provision of the constitution. So I would say that the effort being carried on by the National Assembly now, I'm involved because I'm a member of the Constitutional Review Committee. I represent my state there, and I also serve as a member of a subcommittee that review the 2014 Constitutional Conference. And of course, for somebody who has a background in law, I take no just passing interest in the effort that has been done. What has been done so far is to look at all efforts as constitutional amendments and look at and distill what are the issues that have been raised, the issue of the structure of government, the issue of devolution of power, even the issue of state police, the issue of citizenship, and many other issues have been enumerated to be considered. So there was really no go area in the current effort that's been gone. And if you look at the advertorial made of the public hearing that will hold tomorrow and Thursday, all the areas were enumerated. Then memoranda have been received from all over the country. Then private member bill had also been introduced on various areas of constitutional amendment. But what I will say is that it is very important for our governors to take not just a passing interest in it. They should work together with some of us at the National Assembly and see how we will be able to use the instrument of National Assembly to effect necessary amendment. It is a question of who will the cat. If we have the facility of the National Assembly, all National Assembly members come from one constituency or the other. Each of those constituencies are within the framework of the state. So there must be a synergy between the Nigerian Governors Forum and the leadership of National Assembly, and of course the federal executive, on how do we ensure that we have a constitution that reassures every Nigerian that the primary purpose of governance, which is welfare and security of the people, is actually guaranteed.
Senator,
okay.
You said something earlier. What is achievable when we're talking about constitution amendment? I want us to go there. Nigerians are almost tired of asking for, the constitution to be amended. This is the 9th assembly. Almost every single assembly has promised to, amend particularly the contentious part in the constitution, some of which you have already highlighted. Why should Nigerians at this point, have that confidence that maybe this time your assembly will indeed amend the constitution, in a way that is acceptable to we, the people of Nigeria?
I will tell you that it's a challenging process, and I won't talk to you as a politician. I'll talk to you as a patriot. The problem is that there are entrenched interests, even under the present system, that could not see beyond what we have and think possibly that amending those fundamental provisions possibly will alter power balance in their against them. So they need to address those concerns and say that if a society runs,
are there genuine concerns?
It may more in political process. Whatever is genuine may be subjective, and of course, when interest, it may be sectional, it may be financial, it may be economy. The way you resolve such issues is to put the cards clearly, the cards on the table, so everybody will to take that. Now I'll give you an example on the question of autonomy of judiciary, autonomy of local government. The last assembly, that's talking of the National Assembly, passed same, but some of them were rejected by the State Assembly. But it's not only the National Assembly that will pass constitution. You must have 2/3 majority of the House of Assembly. And of course, you know that talking beyond legalese, that the governors have a lot of tremendous influence in the State Assembly. So that's why I've said previously that there need to be a synergy between the governors and the National Assembly to ensure that we have a common ground. Even if we cannot get the whole org on this exercise, let us have a common understanding of irreducible minimum content of constitutional amendment that will give confidence to Nigerians that we have a structure of government that can deliver on good government. And that is why it's not just about having public hearing, it's not just about conducting proceedings, but it's about having political consensus. And I appeal to fellow Nigerians, particularly some of us who are political elite, let us for once have consensus as elite that we want our society to move forward. We want to have progress, we want to have security, and we want to create a society where our children that we thought we are giving a better opportunity will be able to live with their eyes closed. If those children that we thought we were depriving will not be able to do so, because you create a danger for your children when you don't take care of the children of the less privileged in society.
Senator, there are still people who strongly believe, I know, and I want you to still address this issue, who strongly believe that this idea of doing it piecemeal may not necessarily, I know you've said it is an incremental process, but we've done this incremental process for so long. Each National Assembly that comes in goes through the process of constitutional amendment. Each year, each period, each process takes billions of naira from the National Assembly to the states. The entire hulk of the whole business is quite consuming monetary-wise. Cost effectiveness. How do you deal with the cost effectiveness? And that I think is why a lot of people have said, can we have a general sit down and talk from all across Nigeria and have an engagement on whether or not Nigerians want to be together? And if they want to be together, which is what the dominant thinking would be, how do they want to be together? What are the bases and levels of engagement between, the state and the federal government? What are the issues, the aspects that are going to be yielded to the central government and the others that are going to be taken up by the states? What are the consensus on issues of, derivations and sharing formula? These are the entire issues which they feel should be taken up once and for all, especially at this time where you go to the southwest, you have agitation of Yoruba nation happening all over the place. You are familiar with what's going on in your state. You go to the southeast, it's the same thing. The south is brewing, and a lot of people are saying they don't feel a sense that they are or want to be part of Nigeria. How do you address those concerns, especially at this very delicate time that you are looking at the constitution? Do you think this piecemeal approach would address the issues, especially the existential threat tearing at the seams of Nigeria at the moment?
I will not. Yes, I will acknowledge what you meant, quote unquote, essential threat. But I will say that you must make a distinction between posturing and reality. Yes,
you think most of what's going on is posturing?
There are a lot of posturing that is going on. I will tell you, somebody who cannot even get a support of a subset of his compound will come and say he's speaking for all, people. And that kind of situation, you talk about posturing. Then there's always been the possibility for people to use some skirmishes of violence to create a semblance of a large kind of situation. And I will give you an example from the meeting that occurred in Lagos, I think was on Sunday or Monday, our leadership meeting. When you have meetings where practically all the governors were there, where the leaders and the orders of thought were there, and they clearly say that this is where we are going. We are talking of restructuring. We are not talking of having a Yoruba nation. Then somebody, with respect, a rabble rouser, who does not even have any pedigree, who does not even have what it is to say that you want to have a nation, and we as elites, we should not give Philip to such thoughts. So we must be able to make a distinction between, yes, we have a challenge. We need to make our political processes to be inclusive. We need to make our governance structure to have meaningful impact for the people, but we should not give Philip to posturing of ethnic agitators, who in the real sense of the fact, if a proper referendum is even conducted, they may not even win up to 1% or 2% of the territory that they claim over. So I think there's a clear need for us to see the issue. And I always, when I move from one part of the country to the other, when I see the interrelationship of us, even at the elite level, it is only when political contests come into being that you see some of these differences come into being. When it comes to relating to each other, there's no such a problem. I believe that because constitutional making is a political process, a lot of interests, diverse, both selfish, both artistic, are involved, and that is why you need to carry everybody along. The Nigerian unity would have been compromised, even in it as far as early as 1953, when the independent motion was moved without consensus of some other part of the country. So the same thing we cannot push at the same level, but I believe with incremental consensual approach, we should be able to get there in terms of
Senator Bashir Ajibola, Senate spokesman representing Osun Central. To say a very big thank you to you for finding time to join us this morning and for shedding light on the many issues that we've raised with you. Thank you.
I'm glad to be part of it.
Well, still so many issues to talk about, but very little time. Thank you so much. I think we've met the most of what we have. Thank you, Senator. Well, that's our program for this Tuesday. Thank you so much for being there with us. Kakaki will return on Wednesday, beg your pardon. I am Utibe.